What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? Tonight we've got guest Jerry Williams, also known as Greater Sapien, here on YouTube with us, and we definitely want a wide range of people to call tonight. I mean, if you want to disagree with us about religion or God or whether or not the Earth is a globe, I think that that's still something that's being argued about. What do you think, Jerry?
Yes. Unfortunately, yes. And I want to apologize for being late. We got a black person on here today, so we got CP time apparently. So apologize for for running late, folks. But yeah. So anything you wanted to talk about, I'm up for.
Awesome. Well, first I want to talk about you, Jerry, because we've kind of interacted, here and there in the past, mainly around the whole flat Earth discussion. But I'm wondering, can you just tell people what you do over there on Greater Sapien, and just kind of a little bit about about your channel and stuff?
Sure. I got my start doing YouTube because I have a really, really good friend of mine who's a conspiracy theorist. I mean, he's a contrarian by nature, so he's a conspiracy theorist, and just one day he was just running to me about how the moon landing was fake, and he had this video that I had to watch, and so I said, fine, I'll watch it. And I was like, I can't believe this is out there. This was like the funny thing happened on the way to the moon one, and I saw that, and I said, I can't believe this is out there on the internet. People are doing this. And so I did a first little 10-15 minute debunk video, mostly for him. I was like, look, I'm going to go through this video, and I'm just going to show you how they weren't making any sense. And it kind of brought out the teacher in me. I like explaining things. I like breaking things down to people in simple words. And I'm a fan of critical thinking. I'm a fan of logic, a skeptic by nature. And as such, I'm used to people, I'm used to wanting to attack what the main narrative is, but sometimes the narrative is just right. It's just factual. And so that was my inspiration. And once I put that video out, they just started coming out of the woodwork. It's like, okay, the moon landing deniers, this is actually a thing. And then somewhere in there, the moon landing deniers started showing this flat Earth perspective. I was, someone argued with me, and I was like, wait, what? Did you just say that the Earth is flat? And then I found out that was a thing. And so for me, it's not so much about convincing people to change their mind, because they're not going to do it. But there are so many curious people out there that are asking questions, and when they go to the internet, they get bad information. And so my goal is to just provide good information. So when they're asking real questions, they can hopefully they can find my information, and that'll help them in their genuine curiosity to find out answers to questions that aren't that easy. They're not. When you get into technical stuff like the engineering and just relativity or evolution, the words get big, and the learning curve is steep. And so it's helpful, at least my job, my hobby here is to try to be helpful in helping them make that crossover into positive information.
Yeah, so when I first interacted with the whole flat Earth idea, it was I had a friend at work that just jokingly pointed me towards that is like the International Flat Earth Society or something like, or I think it was just Flat Earth Society. It was obviously kind of like a Poe sort of message board or something like that. And then later on, I figured out that it was like, a real thing that people thought. And to this day, one of my biggest videos on the channel is is me reacting to flat earthers reacting to the SpaceX launch where they shot the Tesla into space.
Right.
I don't know why. It was the cheapest content I've ever made.
Mhm. Yeah, but it was
but
I think it was probably because it was visceral. Just reacting to that reaction is I think a lot of us felt that. It resonated with a lot of people, your reaction there. And I'll touch on my atheism as well. It doesn't come up as much because I'm not in the job of trying to convince people that they shouldn't do what they want to, think what they want to think. But if they try to cross the line in the science, that's when I start fighting them. It's like, go ahead, leave God if you want. Oh, wait a minute, you want it taught in the classroom? Okay, we're going to stop. We're going to have this conversation. But so I do cross over into that a little bit into politics, but that always bites me in the ass. So try to.
Yeah.
I'm assuming we're.
Trust me, I totally know all about that.
I'm assuming we're in all language of appropriate spot here.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Don't you dare fucking cuss.
Cool. Yeah, so I'm willing to talk on anything.
Yeah, definitely. And, I do want to encourage theists that may be in the chat or any conspiracy theorists that want to throw your best conspiracy theory at us. It would be preferable to be more science-based because I think that's what both Jerry and I are kind of focused on. But if you want to call in, the number is 720-619-2288. And you can throw your best conspiracy theory or anti-science position at us. But we would love to hear from y'all. We love interacting with people that disagree with us. I do want to go through a number of announcements. Oh, go ahead, Jerry.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just saying I do. It's one of those things that people think that I'm being combative a lot when it comes to this thing. But genuinely, I like to understand where people are coming from, why they believe the things they do. When their goal is to try to convince me, that's when things might get a little bit pushy. But no, the goal is to have a good conversation. I'm not here to argue scripture. I'm not a scripture arguing guy. You want to talk morality or something, we can do that, but I'm not going to argue scripture with you. And I'm not going to try to convince you to believe something you don't want to believe. But well, let's go for it though.
Yeah. Oh, and I want to echo that I'm not here to convince anybody away from their religion or anything like that. I similarly have a problem with bad information. So that's where I'm coming at it from. But just to make a few announcements here that if you want to support the efforts here at The Line, you can go to patreon.com/calltheline and you can support either this show, SkepTalk, or any of the other shows, or just the channel in general. So definitely go over there and check out those tiers if you want to help support us. Tomorrow on HOSTility, I believe I pronounced that right this time, Jimmy is going to be with David Fitzgerald talking about the Mormons, which will be interesting considering that David has written a book about the Mormons and Jimmy is a ex-Mormon. And then on Wednesday, we have the hang up with Matt and Vice Rhino. And then Thursday on the Transatlantic Call-In Show, we've got Katy Montgomerie and student Dr. Ben. I definitely want to give a special thanks to tonight's screener, Dragon, who is not busy at all at the moment, but y'all need to get in there and give them some work. Like make them work for the screener position there. But we appreciate you there, Dragon. But in any case, so now that we got all the announcements out of the way, Jerry, I have to say that, one of the earliest videos of yours, which is not your earliest video, but one of the videos that I saw of yours that I think was just phenomenal was you were trying to combat this idea of the cold light coming off of the moon. Basically, for those of you that aren't in the whole conspiracy world, there's a conspiracy out there that says that the moon gives off its own special light that actually cools the surface of the Earth rather than being reflected light from the sun. And so what Jerry did, or I don't know, Jerry, do you maybe you don't know which one I'm talking about? It's the one where you do the experiment of leaving a thermometer out, I guess, in a chair, and doing the test between the different phases of the moon.
Yeah, that one was a fun one, and that's not even getting into. There are some who think that the moon gives off necrotic light, that is actually like corrupts. Yes, yeah, it's a whole thing. But yeah, the sun gives life; it's life-giving light, while the moon is necrotic light. It's a whole thing. But yeah, so the idea is that the moon gives off cold light, and they will support this by going out, and they will take a thermal a camera, and they'll look at a device, an object that's in direct moonlight versus something that's in the shadow of something or underneath an overhang or something like that. And there will be a difference in temperature. So what I did was I reproduced those experiments that they did, but I did it both when the moon was there, and then weeks later when there was no moon, and the effect was the same. And then I went in to explain what radiative cooling is and the effect that you have when something is covered. That's why you get in a tent and you stay warm, because there's radiative cooling. I did it amongst a number of different substances and reproduced it in different scenarios just to show that it wasn't the moon, it was just the way things radiate heat. And when you have something under a cover, that cover arrests the radiating of heat, and also radiates heat of its own. And it's just one of those things where if you break things down and do an actual scientific experiment with a control and with variables, these things fall apart. And sometimes these claims that they have are practically untestable. They'll say, well, if you go to the sun, this will happen. I say, well, okay, no one can test that. But this was something that is like, we can test this. This is something we can reproduce. And I showed all my methods and just told people to go ahead and do it again themselves. And when you follow the most basic high school science experiment technique, it falls apart. That was fun.
Yeah, the experiments that you could run to prove these people wrong in their claims are just so easy to do. It amazes me. And then the experiments they come up with are just hilarious. For those of you that aren't into the flat Earth kind of area, there's this one experiment that they do that always cracks me up. They'll get like a basketball, right, and they'll spray water on it. And then they'll spin it around on their finger or whatever, and all the water will fling off of it. It's like, how does this make sense? And you're just sitting there, head in hand,
and that's not 1,000 miles per hour, because the Earth, if this was spinning 1,000 miles per hour, how could the water stay on it? And it's like, but if you were doing it at 1 revolution per day, it wouldn't fall off at all. Yeah,
right.
But that's not even getting into the whole. It's a tennis ball within the Earth's gravitational field, and it's easy answers that fit with their narrative, and it kind of just reinforces what they believe, and so they hold on to that, and then they don't go any further. And it's like, but if you were to ask one more question, it would fall apart. But you're not going to go there. You're not going to ask that one more question.
Yeah. Well, we do have somebody on the line ready to ask us a question. So are you ready to jump into a call real quick?
Sure. Let's do it.
All right. So first up, we've got B from Scotland. They, them. How you doing there, B?
I'm good. Yeah. How are you?
Doing pretty good.
Can you hear me?
So you...
Yes.
Yep, we got you. So what
okay,
are you?
cool, yeah.
What's your question?
Maybe a bit of a delay.
Yep.
Yeah. So my question was, why do you guys think that some atheists hold scientifically ignorant views such as anti-vaccine? Because I've seen that most anti-vaxxers seem to come from kind of the religious right, but there are some atheist anti-vaxxers as well, and I'm just wondering where that's coming from.
Yeah.
Well, at least from my experience, do you want to hop at this, or shall I? From my experience, atheists. Well, we all know this. Atheists, we're not a monolith. Which, to coin a phrase there. And some people, their atheism is, it may legitimate. Obviously, it's a legitimate belief of theirs, but it also may come from a rebelliousness. There's a contrarian, nature to some people, and so there's a fight the power urge in a lot of us. And I find that the atheists I've dealt with that are also like anti-vaxxers, it's not their atheism that's getting them there. It's usually their just their general distrust of government, their contrarian nature, and that way. But it's really not connected to their atheism in that way. John?
Yeah, and I would say that I think it's more about people being easily convinced of bad information and just how gullible somebody is, because just because somebody decided to leave religion or whatnot, that doesn't mean that they're automatically like some kind of a rational individual. I think that you could still be irrational on a number of subjects. So I think that they're just like Jerry was saying, there's this very contrarian sort of side to most people that want to push against the grain on occasion. And I think that some people they just either have bad methodology or they're just easily sucked in for one reason or another. And so regardless of whether or not they're atheists or religious or anything like that, I think anybody can be gullible and anybody can be sucked into bad information and propaganda.
Yeah,
do you think it's possibly like a case of skepticism going too far? If you know what I mean, like, people are taught kind of in the early stages of their atheism to kind of question everything and be skeptic of absolutely everything. So then they're like, oh, well, I'm going to start questioning like well-known, like well-proven science as well as questioning religion, just because they're so kind of on edge and hyper-vigilant about being skeptical,
Well, I think, sorry, I'll let you go here in a second there, Jerry, but I think that it's important to, be skeptical. Like, I totally support people questioning things all the time, but the problem that I find is that not everybody has a good methodology for figuring out figuring out the truth of some claim. And so that's where they kind of get sucked into this, like conspiratorial thinking and whatnot. With vaccines, I think that everybody should understand how vaccines do work, or especially how the newer vaccines do work, because you've got them being put into the political sphere now. Like they're being used as political things. And so it would definitely behoove people to be skeptical and try to understand, like, how do they work? Oh, do vaccines really contain this? Why do they contain it? Contain these various chemicals and whatnot. And the thing is that you can find explanations for all of those things out there. They're fully explained on various websites that you can vet as far as them being legitimate websites to get that kind of information from. What you don't want to do is go down the rabbit hole and end up on natureforeverybody.info and reading something from some place like that, and I think that's where a lot of people get sucked into it. What do you think, Jerry?
Yeah, especially when things like you mentioned have entered into the political sphere. None of us are immune from our biases and our irrationality. And oftentimes I think atheist skeptics, they get out over their skis thinking that they are, just because they have achieved this thing, this place of I've crossed this threshold. Now I am a rational person at all times. It's like, no, we all have this. And one thing that I think is helpful for me is I try to question why I'm thinking the way I'm thinking. It's like when I look up something, I try to remind myself, and sometimes you have to remind yourself. It's like, am I looking for the facts here, or am I looking for my answer? Oftentimes we're looking for a confirmation of our own answer, and we do that. We do a quick search and we go, no. It's like, wait a minute, why did I just say no on that? Is it because I can see it's from somebody that I may not quite like or agree with, and so then I'm going to go towards somebody that's going to confirm me a little bit, and that's a discipline that that you just have to be kind of vigilant about, and we all slip, and we like things that are comfortable, and sometimes a pattern of thinking that fits within our personal narrative, our political narrative, our desire for the way the world is supposed to be, we follow it, and that takes us on the wrong path. And that's where we end up having these discussions with people who we're like, wait a minute, you're perfectly rational about this, where are you going with that? Oh, because that, yes, because you have that particular bias and you're not seeing it.
Yeah, it's definitely, the internet makes it so much easier as well, because it's so easy to find your confirmation bias wherever you're looking, because you can be so specific in your search terms when you're looking things up, and you can pretty much decide the results, when you Google something, depending on the wording you use to Google that question, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I totally do, because people will approach me with evidence of something. I have a video coming up in a week or so. Someone said, I found evidence that this is what science says. And I was like, how do they find that? So let me just do some searching. And I would kind of search a couple things. I'm like, nope. Let me search a couple things. I'm like, oh, yeah, if you search this, you start to get, and I could see, it was like, yeah. And then he clicked on that one. He didn't click here, but right below it is the NASA one that says this, but right above that is that one. And that's the one they clicked on. And yeah, you can search. So for me, I search, you search differently. You kind of search certain terms, and then you search certain terms a different way and see if you can get it from different angles. But again, that's kind of a discipline. And so the question is, why are you looking for this answer? Are you looking for this answer to find the facts, or are you looking for this answer because you want your answer? And if you're looking for your answer, you're going to find it. I mean, the internet will give you your answer if you want.
Yeah. And I think that there's something to be said for, whenever you encounter people that are making these claims, what I generally tend to do is I try to find where they're getting the information from. Cause are they getting it from a reputable source, or is it from some weird site that's just putting out baseless claims? And then even for news articles and whatnot, if you hear something that sounds wrong or that sounds weird, always check for sources or links or anything like that, and make sure that the links actually support what they're saying, for one, but for two, the sources are, like I was saying, reputable sources that aren't going to give you these conspiratorial type of lines of logic and evidence and stuff. So, I mean, you could easily pick those out, because the conspiratorial places are going to be something.info or .net or something like that. They're not going to be .orgs or .govs or anything of that nature. And of course, the conspiracy theorists, they love to paint it as, oh, well, the government and the popular source, they're not going to put this information out because this is the real information. Everybody's bought by the Illuminati or something, and at that point I feel like you could just I personally would just step away from the conversation. But I mean, wherever you draw your line as far as where to end that's up to you.
Yeah, totally. I only ask because my mother is an ex-Mormon, and she's a hardline atheist, but she's a total anti-vaxxer. And sometimes when I talk to her, I'm just like, where are you getting this from? That is not anything I've ever heard before from an atheist in my life. And it's just, and then I looked up and there's loads of them that think this way. And it's like, wow, okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, I get confronted a lot, from certain people I know that it's like, well, how do you trust Big Pharma? Right. It's because it's like, well, the people who make the vaccines are Big Pharma, they're all about the money. And I'm like, well, yeah. So there's certain things I will say. It's like, well, their business practices and how they go about pricing things, that's one thing, but that's not the science of the vaccine itself. And I have to, I try to just be distinct on what those spheres are. It's like I can have an opinion about a company and something else about the science behind something they do, but not everyone can. And I'm sure many times I've crossed that line and just not trusted somebody because of the source.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we do have a couple of other callers lined up. So unless you have another question, B?
I think I'm good, actually. I think I kind of got everything that I wanted to say, and I got the kind of, I know we were just talking about not looking for the answers we want to hear, but I think I got all the answers I kind of wanted to hear. So yeah, I think I'm good, but thank you guys.
Well, no, thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
All right, you have a good night. I'm not sure if it's night where you're at,
yeah,
but
it's nearly midnight here.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm an American. My geography sucks.
Yeah. We'll see you later, B.
All right, see ya. Bye.
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 What do we have next?
All right. Well, next up, we've got Shango from Canada. But that was a really nice call to start out, tonight's show with. So hopefully that keeps going. Well, I don't know. I love the saucy calls. So hopefully we get some saucy ones here soon.
Hey, I put the call out to people who always want to come at me. Come at me. Let's go.
Yeah. We got Shango from Canada. How you doing there, Shango?
I'm good. How you doing, guys?
Doing well.
Doing.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. There's a bit of delay, so we're going to be quiet and let you do your thing.
Oh, all right. Thank you. Well, I can see that Jerry has a very nice hairdo.
Thank you.
I got the same.
So what can we help you with there, Shango?
I might be biased. Well, when you see my face, Jerry, you will understand why I'm saying that, but that's all good.
Oh, I understand.
Okay.
So you have a question?
So my question is very simple, actually. I was wondering, don't you think, guys, this debate, I mean, I would say even this so-called debate with flat earthers is, in my opinion, endless, even useless, I would say, because they choose to, in my opinion, they choose to believe in whatever they believe instead of knowing. So you can try to convince them, give them all the evidence that you can bring them on the table. They will tell you, well, no, it's not true. No, it's not true. They choose to believe in whatever they want to believe instead of knowing. So don't you think you're wasting your time with these people?
Sometimes, and so there was a time, and I took a break for about a year or so of doing this because it's one. My mindset was incorrect. I got into the idea of having these conversations and convincing people. I kind of got into that mindset, and I had to reset and get back to my original, a kind of mission, which is just to use it as a format to talk about the need for critical thinking and use them as examples of thinking gone wrong for other people. And I do know that there are people out there, especially young people, who get all their information off the internet. And so my videos aren't for the purpose of convincing the flat earthers, because I believe they're lost to me. They're going to believe what they're going to believe. But my hope is that when someone has a question about how things work, about what is macroevolution versus microevolution, and what does it mean what does free fall mean for real, when they're asking for wondering about these things, there's a resource that has correct answers out there, and not just correct answers, but also showing this, samples of the incorrect and then how it's wrong. So when they come across it, and maybe they've come across the bad information at one place. Oh yeah, I remember someone saying that, or my friend was arguing that, and they come online to get more information. That's who my stuff is for. It's for the people who are legitimately seeking information. And I'm just using the flat earthers as a springboard to have the conversation about the real information. I have to keep telling myself that.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel I'm definitely in the same position, although I don't really do a lot of flat earth content lately. That's just because it's a little hard to find, like, I guess, flat earth content now as far as like content that I want to do. But I feel like I'm never really talking or trying to educate flat earthers or creationists or anybody like that. What I'm trying to do is provide people with a good foundation to, understand why somebody is wrong when they say something like, we didn't land on the moon, or this picture proves that we didn't land on the moon, or macroevolution is a lie. Any of those kinds of crazy kind of claims. I hope to be just another voice, that is providing good information to people that actually want to know, like, whether or not this person is on the right track, or if they're just off the rails completely. So that's why in my videos, what I do is I made the audience specifically atheists and other scientifically minded individuals, because those are the people that I'm wanting to reach and wanting to talk to. It's never like the Eric Hovens of the world, or the Eric Dubays of the world that I'm trying to change their mind on.
Thank you for your answer. I have another question, if you allow me.
Sure.
At
right
first,
ahead.
when I found out, okay, thank you. At first, when I found out about the flat Earth, how do you call that? The Flat Earth Society, I was a bit. At first, I thought it was a joke, because on the internet you find a lot of stupid stuff and jokes and all that. And then I realized these people were really serious about their theories and their claims and everything. So at first, I thought that was a joke, and then I started to cringe, and then I started to feel a little bit worried. I was wondering, don't you think somehow the school system has failed completely? What's your sense about this? Because I'm a bit concerned. I'm wondering, hey, but listen, guys, there are young people out there. They need to know stuff. They need to understand how the world works as best as they could. And then they rely on what they see on the internet about these people doing so-called science, and they got to believe this. So I feel I'm a little bit worried for the next generation. Not for me. I mean, come on, I'm 52 years old, so not that I don't care, but my time is up. But for them, for the youngsters that come after me, what about them? See what I'm saying?
Oh, completely. No. And whether or not, I don't necessarily think of it as a failure of the school system, because oftentimes the issue that I have when I encounter people that have these kind of flawed thoughts is they stopped learning, and they kind of kept that level and didn't build on it. Because the way we teach things incrementally in schools. We don't just say, oh, hey, 5-year-old, here's some quantum mechanics. We build things step by step, and we introduce things as they go on. And if you don't add to that, and then if you find out later on that, oh, the solar system isn't a flat plane and everything's circular, it's like they taught us in school, where they show you the sun and then all the rings in perfect concentric circles, and you see that and you go, oh, that's not how things are. They lied to me. As opposed to saying, well, you were young and they just built things incrementally, and then as you get older, they talk about elliptical paths, and then when you get older, they start talking about actually things being on slightly different planes and things like that. But they've limited their they're thinking too, like what they learned when they were in middle school. They like peaked in middle school. I think there's if there's any failure, there's the failure to encourage perpetual learning, to add as they go on through school, as opposed to, hey, I'm out of school, I don't need to learn anymore, I'm done, I've got what I need. I was always encouraged to just keep going. It's just to learn more things, that curiosity, and that's what we need to instill in them. And if they have that, the information will get there. The problem is now is kids come out of school, they still have that desire to get more information, and the internet is shit. It's got everything on there, good, bad, and the ugly. And so I can't say it's a failure of the schools, but it may be a failure for us encouraging them to build on their knowledge and how to think. I don't think there's enough of that, like what is good information and how to research. I don't know if that's something that's taught much anymore, but it was taught a lot when I was, in science classes, how to research so I could get information. So there may be a failure there. Not sure. John?
Well, I think I'm going to save my answer actually for another caller, but I think that there's also this element of trust that's worked in there, because I feel like conspiracy theorists take a small nugget of true things, like, for instance, the government has been caught lying to us, or the school systems has in the past taught us false narratives about things, and so they take those small nuggets and then they build off of that. And I think that there's a lot of trust being eroded prior to being sucked into anti-vax or any of the other things, or flat Earth. And I think that that some of the people, they feel like they're actually getting to the truth, when really I think that they end up being gullible. And it definitely is about people not being encouraged to continue to learn and all this other stuff. So, I think Jerry hit on it pretty well. I think we will have a call here in a little bit that's also on the topic of education. So, we'll probably have a little bit more to say then.
Well, thank you again for this. And just to follow up about what I've been said is, I agree with you, and I agree with Jerry, because I'm from roughly the same generation where school is supposed to give you the basic. School cannot give you everything. School teaches you how to think, do research, analyze, observe, analyze, and deduce. But school gives you the basic. And when you grow up, you're supposed to continue learning, reading books, doing research, and all that, because internet didn't exist back in the day for me. And my parents always taught me, you need to do research. If you want to know something, first of all, what school taught you, but do some research. So I came to a point where to think this way, you're free to believe in whatever you want to believe. It could be whatever you want. But my policy, my stance is this: if you can prove me my belief is wrong, if I am honest enough, I'm supposed to at least question myself. It's tough when you used to believe in something because you're comfortable with your belief. You like what you believe because it's easy for you. And you guys, you come from nowhere telling me, no, it's not true, you're wrong, this and that, and this and that. It's annoying. So we tend to hold on to what we like. We tend to hold on into our belief. It's, I think, a human thing. But at the end of the day, yes, the truth doesn't care about your feeling. Once you do the research, you've been given the evidence, the irrefutable proof of what you've been said, you should accept the truth. So this is when, personally, my conversation stopped with these people, when you give them all the evidence, all the facts, but they keep telling you, no, it's not true, it's not true, it's not true. Maybe it's time to move on with these people. Anyway, but that's my stance.
Well, thank you for sharing it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, though, Shango. Appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thank you for your time.
I will say, Thank you. I
Sure,
will
go
say
ahead.
that he touched on something that I agree with there, and it's not knowing things is uncomfortable, and being wrong is uncomfortable, and people don't like not knowing things, so they reach out. But then we really don't like being wrong. It's not a feeling we like to have. And for me, my goal is I don't mind being wrong. I just don't want to be wrong for very long. And so it's like, because once I find out I'm wrong, change my goddamn mind. Okay, that's I do not like the feeling of being wrong. So if I find out I'm wrong, change my position, and that feeling of being wrong goes away. And now now I'm on the straight again. So that's, for me, it's like, I understand there's a discomfort we get when it comes to being wrong. You just push past it, accept it, change your mind, and you're not wrong anymore, and that feeling goes away.
Yep. Well, Shango, thank you so much for calling in. But I think we're gonna move on to our next caller. I hope that you call again in the future.
With pleasure. I really like your show, guys. I like what you're doing, John, Jerry. Keep on doing what you're doing. Keep up the good work, and I see you next time. Thank you for your time, guys. See you around.
No problem. See you later, Shango. All right. So we got the calls are starting to come in. We do still have a few lines open. So if y'all want to call in and give us your best conspiracy theory or your best claim about science and religion, definitely call in. You can also do a super chat. Any super chats $5 or more, we're going to cover here right at the end of the show. So if you want us to answer a question that you might have, consider sending a super chat. Next up, we've got Sven from Washington. Hey there, Sven. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well, and yourself?
Doing pretty
well.
good.
Thank you.
Awesome.
What do you want to talk about?
Quick. I guess kind of just how. I was kind of thrown off by the call screener. I guess the best question would be: do you think that science and will have to have more effect on people once we live in a more secular, humanist, happy life? Because from what I gather, most people who are religious and spiritualist are looking for comfort and reasons for evil, and so far the standard science has no, it doesn't it doesn't give answers to the questions of life. It just tells you the rules of the game of life, when most people are questioning is more than what the science is answering.
Well, I'm kind of curious, what questions of life are you talking about here that science can't answer exactly?
Just purpose, and why are we here, and why is there nothing versus something? Just your typical, classical, non-answerable questions.
Right. Well, there's philosophy isn't exactly science, but there's the philosophy of science, which kind of indicates how we should do science and all this other stuff. But I feel like the intellectual exercise of philosophy, you can use that in conjunction with science and other aspects of our knowledge in order to inform us about those types of things. I guess I really don't know what you mean. As we shift more towards a secular society, we need to what would we need to do with science? What we'll need to find answers to those questions in science? Is that what you were asking?
That was kind of going down the mindset of a lot of the conspiracy theories and all are about an evil government holding things from us. And so a lot of the denial of science can just come from a truth narrative that people have built of the bad guys. And that's kind of exactly what religion and a lot of spiritualness does, is try to find who the bad guys are in our life, in this story we call life. And so do you think a less evil world would make it easier for science and less conspiracy theories? you think like humanists should be working more towards creating a good society to prevent the pushback on science?
Yeah, the way I first interpreted what you were asking is for me, I see religion provides a really good shortcut. It provides a really good shortcut for people because it tells you what's right, tells you what's wrong, tells you who the good guys are, tells you who the bad guys are, what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to have sex, all that kind of stuff. It kind of gives you a nice quick shorthand, as opposed to actually doing the work, which is raising your kids morally and trying to instill in them what your values are and how you think people should be treated and things like that. And so the idea, if as religion is kind of beaten back and we become a more secular society, what's going to take the place of that shorthand? And when it comes to fulfilling these kind of like easy, like these moral questions, and I can't say that something will. It's one of those things. It's like people have to be willing to do the work. At least from my point of view, because I'm an atheist. I have a family. I've raised a son, and not having that structure of these are the answers. Here's, this is the book that has all the answers, and this is good guys, bad guys. I've had to have conversations. I've had to do the work of dealing with situations and even coming up with kind of scenarios of, hey, if that happens, think of it this way and break it down this way, and talk to people about it and get yourself a circle of friends that can support you and things. I've had to do the work of instilling kind of these moral things, because I don't have that shorthand. And so it is a good question on like, if we're getting rid of religion, what are we kind of replacing it with when it comes to that kind of thing? I can't say I know. I'm just of the mind that humanists need to be willing to do the work to keep things going and keep society positive.
Yeah, and I feel like the whole question of like the evil or the rights and wrongs. I mean, I feel that we could definitely use science in order to form some kind of foundation for what we could consider to be right and wrong, because you can take in order to determine if some kind of moral action is right or wrong, we would need some kind of end goal to see if that action progresses towards that end goal or pushes us farther away. And so in that way, you've got this sort of scientific mindset going on of evaluating what's morally right and wrong, because depending on who you are, where you are in the world, and at what point in time in the world, the quote unquote bad guys or the evils of the world can be completely different. So I think that just laying it on religion to be the ones to point out like the evils or the bads or all that kind of stuff, that's really kind of ignoring the fact that it's all subjective in the first place. And what religion is concerned with is just following what they currently interpret as their God's like holy word. Whereas I think on a humanistic society, what we're going to be focused on is something that's completely, different than that, because we're not beholden to some kind of supernatural deity's holy word or what we think that supernatural deity wants based on really old texts. We're more focused on, what our actions or how our actions affect people in our society, people in our immediate lives, and all that kind of stuff. It's like a more humanistic society would focus on that rather than on pleasing some supernatural intelligent agent that we seem to not really know exactly what would please him. We just have these vague ideas that change throughout history. So I personally, I think a more humanistic society will end up being a far happier and a far less violent kind of society. And I think that the if you look at the countries of the world, the ones that are the most religious often have the highest murder rates. The ones that are least religious have the least amount of I guess different quality of life, measurements that you could analyze on those countries, they just far exceed they far exceed the religious countries. So I think that a humanistic country or a humanistic society would overall benefit the human race in general.
I definitely would agree. The only thing I would want to clarify on that is I'm definitely not coming from a religious standpoint. I would feel more comfortable speaking for those people who are like spiritual in some way, who, even if they follow Reiki or astrology or the bad spirits, the ghosts, the demons, more than people who are religious. Because I think there's a large population of people who don't follow a dogma of I'm trying to please this God, who are like, oh, there's this evil in the world and these good souls, good bad souls. So yeah, I definitely.
Well, I'm wondering how do you determine that?
Determine what?
How do you determine like the evils and the good and the bad? Like, what's your methodology for determining between those things?
Well, this is why I do agree with the humanist approach, because personally I'm more of a classical Platonist, so I think all souls are good. Some people just have to rely more on their humanistic, animalistic instincts than having access to actually their soul. And so I would use a humanist approach to determine whether someone is being good or bad. And that's why I did want to talk more about like the future being more humanist, because I think humanism is the best foot forward. Yeah, I don't necessarily think that science has a role in playing in humanism.
Well, I mean, honestly, I feel, and I don't know how Jerry feels about this, but I feel like science should play a very big part in all of our lives, even now. Like, not because we're obviously not living in a humanistic society, at least not in the United States, considering everything in the socio-political sphere that's going on. But I feel like science is a very important part of our lives in general, and I don't think that that's going to change if we were to shift away from religion. I feel like people would embrace science for the truth-seeking aspect of it, because science is concerned with describing our reality as we experience it or as it exists now. I would think that we would just lean even harder into that, and we would make better decisions because of it.
I agree with that. Yeah, and I would hope that would be the case.
Okay, I'm not sure the history of, especially we can go down the medical field of science, would definitely show that it can lead to all good outcomes. I think there's a lot of subjective human sciences. What do you call them? The human sciences that have to be taken into account, other than just purely empirical scientific method sciences. Because the history of science has some pretty sour taste to it, just like the history of religion.
Yeah, I mean, you are dealing with the fact that when it comes to science, you're dealing with people, and so it's usually not that it's science that did this. It's usually a person with an agenda that decided to misuse or impose their view on others under the guise of science, or and using the position of authority.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I would say, but that's the exact same situation with dogma. Like, people use their religion to do bad things. People use the name of science to do bad things. It's the same situation.
Well, I mean, but
universities have human sciences taught us.
Well, I feel like with science, you have a better way of disproving, those dogmatic beliefs, because if those beliefs don't represent reality, you can easily show how they're separate from reality. Like, you could definitely show, like, oh, this isn't reflective of what the actual data shows right here. Like, this guy's obviously pushing an agenda that's veiled in science. I mean, I don't think that because I guess I just got the feeling that you were saying you could easily swap out science and religion, and I just really don't think that's the case. Religion is in fact dogmatic. It's a lot harder to change religion, but religion does change over time, whereas science, I mean, it changes all the time, and but that's because it has a mechanism in it to update, the way we view the world automatically, so that we have the best reference for how this world works all the time. As soon as new information comes in, we can apply that and we can make better decisions on it. And so when you end up with an individual that's veiling their dogmatism in so-called science, you can easily see past that veil, because it may be right there with our understanding of reality for the moment, but as soon as new information comes in that changes that, it starts to move farther and farther away from reality. And so you can easily see how that's not representative of reality. And so I think it would be a lot easier to detect the bullshit, as it were, when it's veiled in like this scientific cloak.
Yes. But yeah, there's never going to be getting rid of the human factor, and that's what I think you're really speaking to. But I think a science-based, worldview, as John mentioned, has mechanisms within it for correction that are much easier to implement than religious dogma does. Yes, sir. So correction can happen easier.
Okay, definitely valid point. The only thing I would, I lost my point. Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry. I know John is Godless engineer. Who else am I speaking with?
This is Jerry. This is Greater Sapien. Hey.
Jerry. Great. Thank you. I like you said that. Yeah, I'm referring to the human aspect, because science and data and all still has to be interpreted through a human. Like, the human is going to have to make the correlation. So there will always be a subjective mindset. And so it just all screams, I don't know, very enlightenment, like the sciences will tell us this, when we know that it takes like humanitarian sciences and soft, quote unquote, sciences that aren't strictly using the verifiable empirical method to come to answers. Go ahead.
Well, so for one thing, science, the scientific method, it tries to eliminate as much bias from it as possible, and the way that it does that is through the peer review process, through the repeatability of experiments and hypotheses and everything like that. So, I mean, the bias in individuals interpreting the information is definitely a thing, but the scientific method does have a mechanism for trying to control as much bias as we can. So, I mean, you do have. I would say that you need to factor that into it, but I'm also kind of curious what you're talking about with the soft sciences. Like, are you talking about like historical,
Sure, history is one, but I would say like science cannot tell us if something is an inhumane test to do. Like, science can only say yes, it shows those tests, but it takes a soft science to be like, no, that's an inhumane test that we cannot perform on animals, whether they be human or non-human animals. Like a statement of inhumanity would have to come from something that's not science. Does that make sense?
I still feel like you can use science in order to inform your philosophical conclusions about things of that nature. Because, like, as far as whether or not you should perform this test on an animal, well, I mean, you could ask certain questions like, does this test cause the animal pain? Does this test, could the test possibly put the animal in a worse position as far as their life goes? Like, you can, I think that I feel like as long as you can set up the parameters in a way to reach a goal that you want, I think that you can use like a scientifically minded you could definitely use science in order to guide yourself to the best possible conclusion. But it does require asking the correct questions. It does require setting up like your conditions to reach what we would subjectively call a good goal. But I feel like our pursuit of philosophy and ethics and all this other stuff, I mean, while that's not empirically based science, it's still scientifically minded sort of fields. And so I feel like writing science off completely, or saying that these fields are severely affected by bias, I feel is kind of heading in a little bit of a wrong direction. I think you do have to be a bit more conscious about the bias in these fields and everything like that. But and there's not like a natural mechanism in there to try to weed out the bias, but I still feel like you can use science in order to get to good conclusions.
I appreciate that, and
Well,
I definitely am not talking about wiping all science away. I appreciate the call. I know we've been going on a minute. Is a producer Jimmy or Arden on where I could ask about a pronoun with the call screener? Just like 30 seconds. If not, it's okay.
No.
I guess there's no producer. But for anyone in chat, I use any pronoun. I don't know if it's best to use he, she, they. I usually say any, and there's not a problem, but this call screener wanted me to verify. So yeah, any pronouns are fine. And someone mentioned that was weird before, but I think it's pretty common to use any pronouns. So thank you for your guys' call, and hopefully I can get that clarified for the next time I call.
Okay,
cool.
All right. Well, thank you, Sven, for calling in, and I can't wait for your call in the future.
Wonderful call, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I was busy and did not understand that I was being summoned.
No, that's okay. I didn't want to like trample on you there, Jimmy, if you were gonna say something. So I was giving it a second. But anyways, yeah, Jerry, one thing that's really disappointing to me is that, I posted the link to tonight's show in several flat earth groups, and these people are always so willing to get in the comment sections and talk a bunch of shit and everything like that. But, when it comes to actually vocalizing, their ideas, they seem to just be, nowhere to be found. It's weird.
Yeah, it's the keyboard warrior, that is a master of copy paste their arguments, ready to come at you with a snark, and comment on your videos for hours at a time, just hundreds of comments. But I've done the same. I've reached out to people who were directly having a conversation with me on a video and saying, hey, if you want to continue this conversation, here we go. Here's a link. You can talk to me tonight. And they never come out of the woodwork because, I don't know, performance anxiety, cowardice.
Yeah. Cowardice. All right. Well, we do have a couple of more calls. We do have some time left in the show tonight, obviously. So if y'all have some kind of crazy conspiracy theory, or you want to talk about any kind of scientific thing with religion, feel free to call in. We're all ears over here. So next up, we've got Intellectual Wino. Hi, Intellectual Wino. That's an interesting name, but I appreciate you calling in.
Howdy,
what's
howdy. Up? Well, I've been battling the flat earthers on, like Facebook and MeWe and other alternative, groups for God. It seems like,
oh man, I feel so
now?
sorry for you right now. I hate battling flat earthers. So.
Well, it started. I mean, look, the first time I heard of them, it was 2014, and again, it's going to sound like same thing you've heard, years and years and years and years ago. I thought it was a joke, but they are true believers, and they're not. They believe it. And,
Yeah.
mind blown. Mind blown, especially considering what I do for a living. Look,
Yeah.
I'm a commercial airline pilot. And, I have to understand, things like navigation and, how things actually work and so on and so forth. So, what is it that I did initially? It's launch into technical explanations of how, my inertial navigation systems, the whole laser gyroscope systems. Well, hold on. We have to sit on the ground when the plane powers up, and the 3 independent systems have to sit there on the ground and align, and we have to wait for like 15 minutes usually for those systems when the plane is cold. It takes about 15 minutes usually, depending on where we are on the Earth, based on north and south. And 15, 20 minutes, the more north we are, it usually takes longer. The more north we are, for to detect the alignment of the Earth. But anyway, so anyway,
did you have a question or?
Sorry?
I was wondering if you had a question or anything.
Well, question I have is how is it that we try to get through this? And is there a way that we can? I mean, is it a question of navigation? I'm sorry, of funding education properly? I mean, would like a $100 billion and my question is very U.S. centric, but $100 billion, $200 billion, $1 trillion, would that work?
Well, I don't know if that's something that's really necessary. I'm a little bit hopeful that it's a dying trend. There's I think the fringe kind of thinkers were really early adapters of the technology of YouTube, the social media, in order to spread their information. And the kind of the intellectuals, the people who are actually doing the work, they're slower to adopt it because they're actually doing the work. They're actually out doing the science, and so they got a head start on social media, and they've kind of pushed ahead. But the playing field it's a level playing field, and I think the science, critical thinking, rational people are taking over, and the energy level of those who are pushing it is falling away, and it's so I don't think it's something that we're going to have to do a whole lot for. I think the natural kind of laziness and anti intellectualness of this group is going to cause them to kind of fall off, and those who are kind of really about progress are going to be more savvy about getting the information out there. And so I don't think that's something that it's not going to be a long-lived trend. I think there's an artificial magnification of it because of social media and their ability to use it so well, but I don't think it's going to be long-lived. So.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's just something that's just going to naturally die out. But I say that, but the anti-vax community has only gotten so much bigger in the past few years. But I even think that will eventually start to die out again. Hopefully, I realize how that probably sounded. That's not what I meant. I feel like that. I feel like those communities will eventually either change their minds, or they, it'll just be something that is generationally kind of worked out of it. So I think that
we're talking on timescales. We're talking on timescales of 15 or 20 years when you're speaking generationally here. And, I'm hoping that there's a solution that might be, possibly sooner than that, if that's possible. I don't know if there is an educational solution that could be faster.
Well, I mean, so in the past, of course, the funding for education has been all over the place, and I mean, it's kind of in a pretty bad place now as far as our socio-political environment goes. But I mean, creationists have been around for the longest time, and I don't mean to necessarily say that creationists are kind of conspiratorial, but it's definitely a non-scientific idea that a lot of people are desperately trying to get taken as a scientific idea, and they are pretty hardcore holding on to it. And not all flat earthers or other conspiracy theorists use religion in order to justify their conspiratorial ideas, but there is a segment of those people out there that use it in that fashion. And so while I think that the conspiracy theory community, like if you upped, investments in our educational stuff, I think that, you might reach some people, but I think that there's just going to be this segment of the population that's just hardcore, just adhering to it, regardless of what information comes our way. So I think that generationally is really going to be the thing that finally weeds it out. But I just think that it'll that's how long it'll take.
Unfortunately, I agree with you on that. And it's, regarding your earlier point, I agree with you. And this is why I continue to spar with them on, like Twitter and, MeWe and the other, social groups, and, provide the ones that can be provided with the proper information, reason with them. I think that's the best thing that, people like me with, occasional downtime and time to spare can be doing. It's a good use of spare time for people like me who, again, have some downtime and time to spare.
I think kind of the intellectual pursuits and providing good information to the public is always going to be a positive pursuit and a good use of your spare time.
Mm-hmm. I didn't mean for it to sound like a second ago. Oh, no problem. I didn't mean for it to sound like a second ago like we shouldn't be investing in schools. I just I try to manage my expectations, and so I don't. While I don't think that it'll get rid of flat Earth thinking or conspiratorial thinking, I still think that it's very important for us to invest in education and all that kind of stuff. So I realize how I might have sounded a second ago.
Well, and I know one thing that will, is part of that natural progression that will get, when we say die out, we don't necessarily mean that they're just going to physically die out. But the fact is that, at least from my knowledge, flat earthers, they don't, and people like that, they're not contributors to our progress in society. They're not inventing things that are helping us. They're not part of this forward motion. while those who are more of the kind of traditional pro science supporting mindset are, and that reality of the things that come from science, from genuine progress, genuine inventions and discoveries, are just real world evidence against what they're saying, and that's only going to increase. And having just evidence after evidence after evidence piling up against them, and the fact that they are not actually bringing anything new to the discussion, nothing new for a couple hundred years now, it's just going to be part of their downfall, because they're not recruiting, they're not actually bringing anything.
The acceleration continues towards the future.
Yes.
Yep. Well, thank you, Intellectual Wino. It was great hearing from you tonight.
Intellectual Wino, thank you.
Pleasure. Good night.
Good night.
What do we have next?
All right, and then I think the final call that we're going to be able to take is Matt from California. So I'm so sorry for the other people that called in, but Matt will be our last call that we're going to be able to take tonight. I hope that you guys can call in next week on SkepTalk or any of the other great shows that we have here on the line. But hi there, Matt. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing wonderful, guys. Hope you're doing the same.
Yeah,
can you hear me?
Good.
Oh, good, nice. Maybe there's a little laggy. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. We're trying to leave you space because of the lag.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What questions you got?
Second or something. Oh, bajillions. But how does a compass work on the globe? Right, the whole thing is supposed to. They say the magnetic stuff's all shifting underneath the surface now too, and it's about to switch directions, and who even knows? But I was just looking into the making a compass the other day, and it's kind of cool. But either way, it doesn't seem to make sense that it would point toward the middle of the ball.
Well, that's the thing, is that it doesn't. I do have a video on my page about that. I think it actually is about how does a compass work? But so the compass doesn't point to the center. It actually lines up with the magnetic field of the Earth and points along the magnetic lines. I don't know if you've ever. I'm sure you've seen a diagram of the Earth with like the Earth in the middle, and then kind of like the magnetic field lines kind of going from the poles. That kind of, I don't know,
for sure,
clover-looking thing. And so that's what it's actually lining up with that, falling in line with that. It's not pointing to the center of the Earth. It's staying in line with the magnetic field of the Earth. And so that is why
magnetic north.
Yes. And that's why one, they make different types of compasses, because in different regions it points differently. And so when you're below the equator, you actually have the compasses are balanced differently because of the way the magnetic field curves. And so you can't just take a compass that's made for the northern hemisphere and take it to the lower hemisphere, because it will point incorrectly and it will just slam into the edge of it because it's balanced a certain way. So yes, it does work on a globe, but it's not because it's pointing toward the center. It's because it's actually lining itself up with the magnetic field.
For sure, it seems like it would work a lot better on the flat plane than me. So you just said equator. Have you ever seen the sun travel in a straight line through the sky over the equator on an equinox, like is required twice a year on the ball globe Earth? Should be well documented. Happens twice a year.
Have I personally?
Anybody? Have you ever heard of it being documented?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes. I've also, there's I just a little bit of my CV. I traveled to several different parts of the world with weights and measured the different weight of objects due to the acceleration due to the rotation of the Earth, showing that there actually is centripetal acceleration that's happening at different points of the Earth, so that it actually is measurable. I traveled past the magnetic South Pole and had my compass go freaking crazy as I crossed the magnetic South Pole. Let's see what else I've done. I've recorded the the celestial pole.
You crossed the magnetic South Pole. That's awesome.
Well, hold on. Let Jerry finish. No, Matt, do you know how conversation? Matt,
I'm still on the equator. I'm still on the sun over the equator, straight line. Is there any documentation of that?
I'm just giving you a quick CV of the things that I have actually personally done, even though I haven't personally done that.
For sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not. I hear you. You've gone to the South Pole and done that. That's awesome. But do you know where it's been documented that the sun has gone in a straight line over the equator on an equinox, like should happen twice a year?
Matt, do you subscribe to the flat Earth idea? Like, do you believe in the flat Earth model?
I have no idea, bro. I'm in California. I'm stuck in California. I don't have money to do anything.
That did not answer my question whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't subscribe to anything. I don't subscribe to anything.
Well, I mean,
I was asking a question if there was any ever documentation of the sun doing what it should do twice a year, and it's very easy to show.
Yes. So, are you going to look
share that with us? Can you share that with us? It's not something that you talk about. It's something that you provide documentation.
Matt.
Yes.
Matt, listen.
Yes.
It's not incumbent. It's not incumbent upon us to do your research for you.
I've looked for it for 5 years now. It doesn't exist.
You've spent every single day for 5 years looking for that particular piece of evidence, and you haven't found it. Maybe try new search terms. Because I feel like you could easily find this.
So, I mean, if
internet.
this is our best evidence that that's happened, then that's not very great evidence. That's fine. That is what it is.
What?
You know,
I'll use okay. Sans the sun thing. No, here I've muted you. Okay, because you don't know how to stop talking when we're talking. Okay, now I'm gonna unmute you. But when I unmute you, I would love for you to provide us with some kind of argument for the flat model, other than this whole sun thing that you seem to not be able to find. That's actually rather easy to find and verify. So give us a different argument, something that you think doesn't make sense on the globe model, for us to handle.
Okay. Are you there? I heard a beep.
Yes.
Oh, no, we're good.
Right on. Okay, so if I go look at the ISS stream, the horizon will appear straight. While the horizon, it needs to make a complete 360 around the ISS below it. How is there a straight line? I mean, that's fine.
I don't understand what you're even asking.
Yeah, sorry. Try that again. I think both of us had a hard time interpreting what you were saying. So please shoot that our way again.
Okay, so the ISS is looking out toward the horizon of the Earth. It's up above there, however high, and the horizon is perfectly straight. While on a ball,
where are you getting that from?
Where am I getting what from? I've seen it go concave, convex, to this, to that. It's not the best thing. Yeah.
No, it's not a thing at all.
Horizon,
it's obviously.
Finish your thought, though. Matt.
If I'm standing right where I'm at on the floor and I can see the horizon all the way around me, it should form a 360, 3 miles out approximately. If I'm standing like, that's not what you see on the ISS.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. Are you seeing a feed of the ISS where it's spinning around 360 degrees?
It doesn't need to. I take the part of there that the horizon that you can see, and there's no way it would ever form a 360.
How are you taking that horizon? What are you doing?
Looking at it, observing it.
No, but I'm sorry, the human mind doesn't have the ability to then calculate
It's
whether or
the
not
same
it would
thing
make
from
a 360. So what are you doing?
It's the same thing on like a high altitude balloon footage. It should form a 360 there as well.
Okay, so I have a question. If you're sitting just on the ground and you're looking out and you see the horizon, right?
Yeah.
How do you know that horizon is going to form a 360?
If I can have if you can see it the whole way around, then what do you mean? Of course, it has to form a 360.
Okay, so what I'm saying is you seem to have two standards. You seem to have a standard of if you stand on the ground and look at the horizon, you are allowed to spin around and you can see that it does 360. But you're restricting yourself since it is restricted. You have what the ISS says. You're saying, well, I can look at that and just see that it doesn't form a 360 when you're not giving the ISS a chance to turn around and look at everything. So I think you're
well, there should be
you're projecting a different standard between the two.
The curve, there should be a curve on the horizon, and it's not there. And
so
yeah.
So now, if I can interrupt real quick, you can literally go on YouTube right now. We know that you're on YouTube. You can go to YouTube right now. There's a live feed from the ISS that clearly has a curve.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I hear you.
No. It all. I mean, right now is from the position that it's at right now. You can see a curve, and it just changed because I'm looking at it right now. I mean, you may be hearing me, but it seems like you're still saying no, that there's no curve. So there's a curve.
This is. I hear you. So this is exactly why I go back to the equator on an equinox, right? Because this is very simple to show a straight line, the sun moving in a straight line over the equator on an equinox. It gets all this horseplay out of the way.
So that's your standard. Your standard is seeing the sun go over the equinox, go over the equator during the equinox, traveling in a straight line. That's the one.
It gets this horseplay out of the way. You know what I mean? This horizon refraction type of other stuff. I wasn't like ready to call you guys. There's the two body gravity problem.
Well, I don't see how that.
It's like it just doesn't work.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't see I don't see how that gets it off the table for anyone who's actually looking for the Earth to be flat. I don't understand how that gets it off the table for you, but if it does, then keep looking. I would say if you would maybe go over to my YouTube page into the community section where I posted about this video right here. Just drop your name. Just say, hey, this is me. I was asking that question. And then I'll see if I can find some information for you.
Yeah. But, I mean, for sure. I appreciate that. And then,
I'm just, we're not going to have a big thing. I'm just saying, just drop your name on there. Just say, hey, this was me. This is Matt. I talked to you on the podcast thing. And then I'll say, cool. And then I'll then have a spot to send you information if you're interested in it.
Yep. And then also, of course, germ theory versus terrain theory. Germ theory is obviously fraud. Terrain theory is obviously common sense. If we killed each other by breathing, we'd all be dead hundreds of years ago. And speaking of breathing, when I smoke my cigarettes and I start coughing, that's an example of terrain theory, along with the lung cancer that comes thereafter.
No, wait. What's terrain theory?
Doing something.
I'm sorry.
You can look it up. It's just common sense. It says that the things in the real world that I interact with, like if I drink soda pop, it says I'm going to have all that stuff inside of me, which is going to make me fat and unhealthy. The sugars and the high fructose corn syrups and the this and the that, and just a factory juice.
And Matt, is there an issue you're having with that? Is there an issue you're having with that? I'm just curious, real quick. What's the problem? What's the issue you have with germ theory or this when it comes to sodas or whatever?
Terrain theory? Well, it's that germ theories completely pretend and obviously, but they have people running around muzzling their children for germ theory, right? And they also give their children over 100 vaccines, supposedly.
Matt. Okay, so there's two different things that you're talking about here. For one thing, germ theory is not a lie. You can literally get a microscope and you can see microorganisms. You could spit in a petri dish and you can see microorganisms. Okay?
Germ theory of disease.
You can see them.
And you can then expose people to those things that are in that petri dish, and they will get sick. Not necessarily all the time, because guess what? Everyone has different immune responses. And same thing when it comes to whether or not you have that soda. Your body may respond to that soda differently than my body responds to the toxins or whatever that are in that soda. So it's not 100% that all these things happen to all people at all times, but it is evidenced through research for a very long time that microorganisms that cause disease exist. Viruses exist, bacteria exist, immune responses to these things exist. I'm sorry. That's one that we're not turning back the clock on.
Again, yeah. So I mean, the soda, it also makes my teeth decay, and it does this and that, which, according to germ theory, it's a bug doing all that. Terrain theory says it's the sugars, and yes.
Well, do you understand that?
Also,
so
you
have
labeled
bacteria.
Stuff you see under a microscope, viruses or anything. It doesn't make it harmful. You can label anything you want. It doesn't mean anything.
Yes, and no one says that, and I've literally never heard anyone say that a virus, by just the act of being a virus, is therefore harmful, because not everything is actually harmful. A virus is just a classification of a form of life. And the same thing when it comes to tooth decay. Bacteria are microorganisms that will, eat away at your teeth, but they need food. And guess what feeds them? Sugars. So it's not just like, hey, sugar rots your teeth. Sugar feeds bacteria and bacteria. So it's not one of these things where, and maybe you should look into it, that some of these things that you're talking about, it's either one or the other, or actually the beauty of science that these things are actually kind of integrated with each other. Germs do exist, and things in the world do affect, things as well. It's not as cut and dry as you're saying. Did you have something, John?
No. I'm amazed because I'm amazed because you can literally look under a microscope and see these things.
Liver disease, the alcohol, the parts in the alcohol are destroying my liver. You're saying bugs are destroying my liver.
No, I'm not saying bugs. That's what we're saying. There are different things.
Bugs?
Germs theory does not say.
You think I got cockroaches in my liver?
Yeah. So I think that's where I think we're having an issue
right there. Well, it's nonsense.
I think this is Matt. I think this is where we're having a little bit of an issue, is that things are not all or nothing. It's not all of one thing or all of another thing. And no one is, you're saying, they say that it's something in your liver. No one is saying that. That is not actually what science says. You may have heard something and you're interpreting it. No, germ theory says that. Yeah, sorry. Germ theory is not applied to all things at all times. I'm sorry, I was thinking, so say it again.
Oh, just look up germ theory versus terrain theory. Dive into it a little bit if you want, and you can see that one's perfectly common sense, and the other has us thinking that we breathe out bugs that kill one another that aren't actually bugs now anymore. They've added viruses in the germ theory, which is not a germ; it's something who knows.
Yeah, I'm sorry. When were they bugs?
Exactly. I don't know. They've
No,
added
I mean, you
viruses in the
said
germ.
because
The
for
part
my
of germ
entire,
theory, but
I'm in my 50s. It's been viruses my entire life, bacteria my entire life. I don't know from bugs. I
right.
mean, we shorthand, we
They're
say
all in
I got a bug, but we don't mean bugs.
microscopic organisms, whatever you want. Does it make a difference?
Well, right.
It's
Okay. So you were talking,
void of content.
Matt.
What's that?
Hold on, Matt. Yeah, common sense. We got it. So a second ago, you were talking about how a bug that we breathe out is causing parents to muzzle their kids, and I'm assuming that you're talking about COVID-19. COVID-19 is a virus. It's just another coronavirus. There's multiple different kinds of coronaviruses out there. And the thing with the coronavirus is that it doesn't just, like, it's not airborne. It travels through the like the molecules that you breathe out, like just liquid droplets. Yeah, thanks, honey. Yeah, and so they travel in the droplets, and the mask prevent you from transferring what if you have COVID-19, it prevents you from giving it to other people. And so just in general, like, face masks are a good thing, like during flu season and everything like that, because flu season is also another thing that's caused by viruses. I mean, this is all stuff that we can actually detect, whether it's an electron microscope or just a regular microscope you could probably get for about $50 from Walmart. Either one, you're going to be able to literally see those things with your own eyes. What do you think is under the microscope when you see microorganisms?
The cleaners of the earth. That's what they do. Little bugs, they go around and they keep this place clean. What do you think? You look at it and you see murderers, right?
No,
and you're laughing at me.
No. I was for a second there, because part of me is thinking there's a little bit of Poe action going on here. But when I see those things, I see life. I'm going to be legit here. Give me a moment. When I see that, I see life, and because it's life, it may be positive, it may be negative. My body may deal with it well, it may not. I have a tremendous amount of bacteria in my body that actually works in conjunction with my body. It evolved with me, where it works with our system really well. It does help break down things in my stomach. It's very helpful. That is very true. But not everything in me came from me and works. Hold on, let me finish. And so when I look in the petri dish or under the microscope, I see life. I don't judge what it is unless I know or have been shown that a particular one is known to be negative. But when I look in there, I don't see murderers or anything like that. I just see life. Okay. And just like anything else in life, it may be positive, it may be negative. It depends on how it reacts with my body.
What do you think they're there for? Why do you think they exist?
Well, so we all have a certain amount of, like, germs
so
and microorganisms that. So in our own bodies, we have, we have germs that help us. Like, there's microorganisms that live inside of us that help us do different bodily functions. We also, if I'm remembering correctly, it's been a while since I've read it, but we actually have a virome inside of us too that helps us stay healthy as well. So, I mean, what are they there for? It kind of depends on what you're talking about, because we have gut bacteria, and if your gut bacteria is off or is not in a good state, that can actually make you really sick. So I mean, there's different ways to go about it as far as explaining what they're there for. It just depends on what you're talking about.
Yeah, and let me hop in here real quick, Matt, before you go on. When you say, what do you think they're there for? That's an assumption that all things are there for my benefit. There may be things that work perfectly well with another organism, and it is part of their body or whatever. And when that dog bites me or whatever, that bacteria that works perfectly fine with their body gets into mine. And it doesn't work well because it's not supposed to be there. And so I get an infection on that bite because it's not meant to be there. There are things in this world that, yes, may work in perfect harmony with the environment that they evolved in or they happen to be with, but that's not my body's environment. So if it happens to get in me, it's not, when you say, what's it there for? Well, it's there for its own survival. And its own survival may not be the best thing for me. But it doesn't make it evil. It just makes it something that isn't very compatible with me. So I need to do something about that.
Right on. What up? I didn't say they're there for me. So just so you know, they're just part of the place that we're in. Clean stuff up. So when I drink a beer and I start throwing up, that's terrain theory. You say there's bugs in those beers making me throw up.
No, I say you drank too much.
I don't think this caller is for real. I mean, at this point, he keeps saying the same stupid stuff after it's been explained multiple times.
That's why I said I had a Poe feeling going on there.
Yeah, Matt, I don't even really care if you are for real. At this point, you clearly don't listen. They explain things, and then you just go, well, I'll just repeat a different version of the same goddamn stupid point I said before. And then you keep repeating the same stupid line of, well, that's not common sense. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. That's not common sense. So, here's the blah, 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 blah. No, Matt, go fucking actually read a book and do any of the research you're pretending to do. I don't care. Shut the fuck up. No one cares. We're done. Matt, fuck off. We got a night to do. Eat my shit. It's full of bugs.
Yeah, I think we're done. That was I don't want to step on that. That's just beautiful.
That was our last call.
I'm like, fucking Christ.
Yeah, Matt needs to go and drink his bug beer.
Why isn't it? Why? But the medicine should be common sense. That's why we didn't figure out to wash our hands while delivering babies for thousands of years. You fucking idiot. You fucking. Well, and hands, when you wash your hands, you build up soap, which gives you magic powers. That's terrain theory. Because soap is a good thing, but I can't actually explain how these things are good things. But it's not bugs, it's little fucking fairies. Fucking Christ. Jesus.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Nice.
I don't even know if he was a troll or not. I just knew he wasn't listening, and he kept you'd be explaining something, and then and you'd only be 9 words in, and he'd be like, "Oh, but you think with the bugs and shit." Which I'm giving him more of a central north accent, but apparently he called from California. I don't know.
That's what he said. Yeah, I don't know.
You think that there's bugs in the beer, and that's what's killing my liver. What a stupid caller. We all lost IQ points listening to that. Every one of us.
We're all lesser because of it. Yes.
Don't get me wrong. Obviously, we're inviting people to call in, but at least have a modicum of intellectual honesty when you do so. We're never going to shit on you if you just come in and you're like, I don't get it. Here's my thing. But then he'd say right on. Anyway, here's for me to repeat it. By the way, I put this up at least once.
The right on was pretty hilarious. The right on, and then just contradicting it in the next sentence. That's pretty fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I kept I put the feed up as he was saying, if you look out at the ISS, it's a straight line. And I put it up. It's literally, as John's saying, this is it right now. Look at that straight fucking line, though. And if you turn around, I can't imagine a way where if I blew that up and made it one piece, that ends in a circle. Oh, the ball. That globe's got testicular cancer. That's just common sense. Fucking idiot. Fucking so stupid.
Yeah. I wish more people like him had called in, I'm glad that you stepped in, Jimmy, because I kind of get in awe of how the bad arguments, the things that they'll say.
The train wreck. Yeah. You see the train wreck happening. Yeah.
I just can't stop. But I was right there at the end. I was tired of it too. But anyways, so that's gonna be our landing.
He's welcome to call me. I've got all kinds of questions. By the way, Matt, stop taking your medical advice from chiropractors. Jesus fucking Christ. They are not medical doctors. They can make you go pop, pop, and it might feel kind of nice. That's where their advice should end. Don't put lemon oil on your dick. You ever
It's gonna be the weirdest.
You ever been to a
the weirdest
chiropractor?
advice I have to give.
They're putting
No,
lemon
I
oil on
haven't.
everything.
All right, we have a few super chats to get through before we leave on out of here. First up is $10 from Too Young to Feel This Old, and I got to tell you, I feel that username so hard.
We've done many. They're a pretty frequent supporter. That's not the word I wanted, but they often, and we've done a lot of time just responding to the username on multiple shows, and then eventually we're like, anyway, here's the chat. It's very funny.
Yeah.
It's true though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Too young to feel this.
Yeah. Yep. Too Young to Feel This Old says, love you and your content, GE. Nice to see you for the first time, Mr. Jerry Williams. You have a very calming voice. Gonna go find some of your content and after stream. Go sublate yourself, Jimmy.
Will do.
With a heart.
Will do. Because the sublation of assertions of moral positions, if you concede that the hierarchy of lobster cum is sufficient for just it's sort of an inside channel joke. You know, if you watch the show, Jerry, Jesus.
I try to stay off the internet as much as possible. That's the thing.
Dude, I don't watch any content that is atheist related when I'm not doing our shows. It's like, I need a goddamn break. I'm going to be honest. I don't even like dating activists because of this thing. It's like, when I'm done at the end of the day, I want to talk about nothing related to this shit. Anyway, you didn't hear that from me. I feel like someone will have a problem with that. Jimmy Snow admits he's not attracted to activism. Barely true.
All right, next $10 from Just Spoken J. Oh, okay, I got you. What's coming up on the Greater Sapien channel after the 200 proofs are done? Yeah, because Jerry, you're busy going through the 200 proofs from Eric Dubay, right?
Yeah, I am. Oh, it's painful. So painful. I'm trying to make it enjoyable for myself, but it is a painful thing. I'm going to be it's going to be spread out for a while because I have to put in sporadic videos of other things, or my brain is going to rot and I'm going to hurt someone because it's just terrible. It's just tripe. But yeah, I'm going to keep moving forward with more, kind of pro science. I'm trying to move into more kind of tutorials, educational stuff. Try to help promote the scientific thinking. I'm trying my best to use the stupid questions I get from flat earthers as an introduction to the concepts of science that are interesting. It's like, oh, you don't think the eye exists? Oh, it's a good opportunity to talk about free fall. Okay, let me explain how free fall works. So use it that way. But yeah, we'll see. I might not make it.
Y'all better send in.
I could.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
I don't know. It's you.
Oh, I was just gonna say I can't make it through the 200 proofs thing. Like after about 4 or 5, I'm just like I just can't deal with it anymore. I just can't. So I'm glad that you're going through it there, Jerry.
Yes. And people ask me, it's like, why don't you bundle them together and do like 2 or 3 at a time? I said, because I read them one at a time and it was really painful and you have to feel the pain too. You're going to go through them one at a goddamn time, just like I had to. So, there you go.
Y'all better send in your super chats now. Otherwise we have to sell the show to Flat Earth Matt. Oh, wait. Sorry. Doesn't subscribe to any Earth model, Matt.
Yeah. What was that?
No, he's too poor to subscribe to any kind of model.
That was the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's too busy.
I think that should have been the flag.
I wish he had actually
I think.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just that should have probably been the red flag for him being a Poe. Honestly, I'm too poor to subscribe to any model.
I wish he had. I wish he'd actually made one of the points you made at the beginning. Like, it would have been hilarious if he'd come in and been like, okay, but if I put water on a basketball, that would have been fucking hilarious.
So next time, Matt, next time,
Right.
prepare your material a little bit more.
Poe better.
Better.
All right. Next up is $10 from John Muir. What do you make of the idea, Muir? Yeah. What do you make of the idea that some people like conspiracy theories because being controlled by a secret cabal feels more comforting than living in a world with nobody at the wheel? Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. I think is that last bit.
Yes.
You put some stink on that one. That was personal.
Yeah, you made it hurt a little. It's actually it's meant to be a bit of an endearing term on this channel, and you made me sad. Sounded the exact way my grandpa sounded as he passed away. That hurt.
That hurt. I often subscribe to this idea because it seems that a lot of people need to have somebody in control. Even if it's an evil cabal, there is somebody in control. I think they're comforted by the idea that there's somebody in control, and they're in the opposition. They're the rebels. They're the people who are on the side of the light, fighting this. And I think that's very reassuring to them. But yeah, I just, I can't subscribe to that. But it seems to me oftentimes that's what it is. It's someone needs to be in control, even if it's Big Brother, even if it's, the Rothschilds, even if it's, somebody evil, at least someone's in control of things.
Yeah, I feel like them manifesting this whole cabal that's in control of things, it somehow makes them feel like they have this hope of getting the control. These people control it now, but just wait until we get the reins and we'll do it right or whatever, or we'll control stuff. I feel like there's a hope of being able to take the reins away from whoever they think is running things. And I feel like they have some, I don't know, I guess some hope in that maybe. But I mean, honestly, I'm perfectly fine with all of this shit just sort of chaotically running however in the fuck it's going to run. I don't know, that I feel better with that in mind than I do that somebody is purposefully driving all of the bullshit that's going on. I feel like the whole chaos thing is probably better.
And for me, I can't be that kind of, I call it like supremacist thinking, that there's actually people who are just better at this than we are. Because if you're a cabal that's in control of all these things, I'm sorry, the world is tough and complex. In order to do that, you've got to have superior intellect, superior resources, and be an actual superior group of people. And it's I just don't see that. I can't have that mindset that there's this group of people who have this intellectual capability and their hands on everything and this level of power and control. Because also I think that mindset goes hand in hand with the idea that there are people who are lesser. There's these people who are superior, and then there's people who are lesser, and these people who are superior are actually in control. I can't brook that type of thinking. That's me.
I'm pretty suspect of anybody who's I'd feel a lot better if I could blame the Jews for this. It's pretty. Also, it's kind of one of those things too, where they're
red flag.
It reminds me of a lot of the God arguments where it's well, but just deciding God did it so much simpler. But it's only simpler in that the sentence is shorter. You actually create a much more complex problem where the origin of there's aliens and the government's hiding it. It's do you know how many idiots would be in on the secret? That shit would leak so fucking fast, and it wouldn't be from Earl with his blurry photos. I know it looks like the sun out of focus, but I tell you, that's a man with a space laser, and he's a Jew. So I don't know. Just seems like a suspect.
Yeah, that all ends up being very suspect.
Next is $5 from RPG Debunks. It says, I would love to see a FE model that doesn't break at least one fundamental law of physics. I know it'll never happen because FE is wrong. Hashtag go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Sorry, hold on. Let me say that more loving. Go fuck yourself, Jimmy.
That sounded like my grandma's final words.
I'm with you, RPG Debunks. But yeah, that is the problem. You're asking for something that's not possible because all the laws of physics break the very concept of a flat Earth. So it's just not possible.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much same answer for me. It's always going to break some kind of fundamental law. And then we got, oh man, I'm going to butcher this name. $10 from Yay Dan. Yeah, Dan. Whatever. Sorry, I butchered your name. Love you guys. Don't know how you do it. I get frustrated way too easily. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Yay Dan. Yeadon.
I don't know.
It is a chore. It comes from years of having conversations, and you just get used to pushing it to the side.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Jerry.
Oh, I was just reading the next chat.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, I have to say that while I was doing Flat Earth content, I never learned as much as I did when I was wrong about something, because I'd have this preconceived notion about how something works. Or I'd think I'd know how something works, but then I really didn't. And so like I had to like do a lot of reading on like how some shit works. So I actually learned a lot while I was doing Flat Earth content.
Yeah. And it's much easier to say nonsense than it is to explain why it's nonsense. You have to do a lot more work to explain why it's nonsense. And it is a really nice exercise to find out, well, one, what you know. You kind of learn what you know when you try to explain something to someone else. And then you find out how deeply you know it by how well you can explain it. And that's when you have to go, oh, yeah, I understand this, but I did it so long ago. I learned it so long ago. It's kind of like a kind of an intuition for me now. How do I explain this? I need to read up on it more so I can figure out a way of breaking this down into pieces. And that's when you go, oh, that little piece, that's a little shortcut I always just kind of skipped over. I forgot about that. I didn't know about that. And so you end up learning a lot when you try to explain things to other people. That's the one kind of saving grace about it. It's really fun to learn more things and find ways of explaining.
Yeah, definitely. Next, $9.99 from the Raven 200 says, I don't know what Matt from CA was smoking, but where can I get some? I want to believe he was trolling, but I've spoken with people who talk like him unironically. Yeah, I mean, that's why it's always really confusing to know if somebody's, being a Poe or, just bullshitting you, because the conspiracy theory community is so widespread in their conspiracy theories that it honestly wouldn't surprise me whatever they come up with.
Right. Yeah. It's anything's actually possible. So that was fun though. On you, Matt.
Canadian 1069 from Kathleen Moncrief, who says, great show tonight. And did you know that if you say fuck off backwards, it sounds like you're saying f off with a slightly different accent? Fuck f off, f off, I guess.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm not embarrassed myself trying it now.
I think it's meant to be the full thing because they can't write fuck. So it's meant to be fuck off backwards would be like fuck off.
Fuck off. Fuck off. Yeah.
Fuck off.
Fuck off. Fuck off.
Wanker.
Russian accent. Fuck off.
Fuck off.
All right. And then another $19.99 from the Raven 200 says, I love it when Jimmy puts a caller in their place. Cry laughing faces. Jimmy, here's 1999 to roast me. Please roast me. You're funny. Pretend I'm being intellectually dishonest.
Wow, this is such a I feel so bad of like turning someone down who paid for the privilege, but it's not really a thing you can pop a coin into and get it out like a gumball. It comes from the heart. It's when I really roast somebody and I want them to go to bed feeling stupid, there's a certain amount of rage I need. There's a certain amount of it has to cause a certain creativity to burn. But I don't know. Shit, I don't know. Asking me to roast on command. Way to make your entire personality about one person from the Teen Titans. Is that a thing? I don't know. I guess. I don't even think that's what you're doing, but I tried. There's your roast. It's. I got nothing. I gotta really want to hurt somebody's feelings. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have that visceral need to tell someone to eat your shit. It has bugs in it.
Dude, I like black out for that shit. I don't even remember what I say half the time. I just get on fire and I get in a trend and I'm not listening to myself. And then I come to and I'm like, who did I hurt? Why is there blood on my hands? Oh my God. Like Terminator.
Like the Terminator.
Yeah.
$10 from Lael, who says, this is for Paul's coffee table fund. So that's another creator, Paulogia. I don't know if you know Paulogia there, Jerry, but apparently Shannon needs a coffee table. And Paul doesn't want one.
Yeah, Paul's opposed to the coffee table. By the way, so someone told me this about this on yesterday's show. And then I was like, what if I designed a coffee table that at midnight or sometime every night, it has a little spring mechanism and it throws everything left on the coffee table onto the floor. And that way, because his whole thing is he doesn't want it to gather clutter. So it incentivizes you to clean it up. Otherwise, you might have to clean up a mess in the morning where, drinks or whatever got knocked over. And somebody in the comment section of that video, just like this thing where I sort of as a joke was spitballing, was very offended by how stupid I am and the fact that if it's a lit candle, I'm going to set their house on fire. So yeah, it was an interesting. They wanted me to feel stupid, but they're not as clever with the words as when I black out. Anyway, that happened. It was a terrible story, apparently. Yeah. Jerry gave a pity laugh there at the end, and that's all I got.
Okay, next $9.99 from the Raven. 200 says, "Don't put lemon oil on your Richard or Dick." That's the best quote of the year. Don't at me. YouTube won't let me say the word Jimmy actually said.
I found the comment. The comment was, "You forgot a lit candle on auto littering coffee table and your house burns down. Great idea, Jimmy, you dumbass." I'm like, first of all,
way to
go. What's so bad about it?
They're taking it way too seriously.
I don't
also,
care.
I feel like they would understand that it's gonna flip it off. So you just wouldn't put candles on that coffee table. I don't know. Yeah. Who leaves a lit candle on a coffee table in the middle of the night?
Also, who puts a candle on a coffee table? Of all the places I've ever put a candle in the middle of it, like if you're having a romantic dinner on the dinner table, maybe next to the bed, next to the bath. Who are these people lighting a candle on their coffee table? That's not a place for that. I guess if the lights go out, but at that point, the mechanism's not going to work either. Yeah. Yeah. The mechanism's electric. Everybody's fine in that
in
scenario.
Your face.
Yeah. Fuck you, random commenter with an anonymous name and no profile photo. You're a real person.
KC, my wife, KC says, loved seeing GE and Greater Sapien together. Thanks for the show, both of you. And fuck you, Jimmy. You're the worst.
I have heard that. From my parents.
I was gonna say, it's like grandma, grandpa, and parents. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. No bad answers.
And hey, Caitlin. Hey.
$10. $10 from Rainbow Krampus, who says the flat Earth is made of bugs. I've got lobsters in my urethra. Terrain theory. Terrain theory.
Yes.
Oh man.
Flat Earth it's you look over the edge, it's bugs all the way down.
That's right.
Yeah, it's just cockroaches everywhere.
You can't prove it's not made of bugs. Go dig in the ground. You know what you're gonna find? Bugs.
Bugs.
So there.
Canadian $13.99 from 10 Euroski, and that's just it. That's all. They just wanted to support the show. Thank you so much.
Gave us money.
Tim.
Silence from Tim.
I know. $5 from Winter Minute 740. Love tonight's show.
Yeah,
Winter Mute. Sorry. My dyslexia is getting worked up. Love tonight's show. Now go fuck yourself, Jimmy.
I plan to.
Just don't use lemon oil. That's all I'm saying.
I'm planning to do it on my couch so I can light a candle on my coffee table.
yeah, just like that. And no lemon oil.
Okay.
$9.99 for the Raven 200, who says, I think I've stated this before here, but during my second semester of college, I met an individual who believes the moon is fake. He was completely serious. Also, go fuck yourself, Jimmy.
Thank you.
A lot of people want you to go on masturbate tonight.
I find that to be a very kind sentiment. I'm sorry that I didn't have a better roast for you, the Raven 200. I really am. There's only one more, everybody. So unless you get your super chats in momentarily before this last one is done, this will end up being the end of the show. But you have the power to make it go longer. Just saying.
Okay. $6.99 Canadian from Rebus Wind. Says we need good sci educators like our hosts. We also need Jimmy to shut dumb trolls up. Here's some alleged money for Jimmy to fuck himself better.
Tight.
Yeah, I have to say, like, I've always considered Jerry here to be a great science educator. I'm actually surprised anybody considers me a good science educator. Just because I don't see my channel as being the good science channel. I just talk about dick a lot over there. Apparently.
Anytime, have you ever had someone describe like, I sat down with so and so the other day and we were watching your show, and I was like, wait, as a community event, you and another person watched it together? Are you insane? The fuck is wrong with you? This is for lonely people on the toilet. What are you doing? Anyway.
And it looks like we do got one more.
Did we? Oh, excellent.
Raven? No.
Yeah, no. $9.99 from Microskeptic. Is that? I did read that right?
Yeah.
Microskeptic
or Microseptic. Okay. One of the two.
Yeah. One of the two. My picture is my bacteriophage I got to help take a picture of with a transmission electron microscope. Or maybe it's just a speck of dirt. That's a bug right there. I could tell that's one of them roundy rounds.
You just think it's a bug.
Yeah, that's one of them drunk belly bugs.
By the way, one of the questions we didn't get round to asking is how come there are how come all images of DNA are CGI? There's literally been actual photos of DNA since like 2002, I think. Maybe it's 2012.
Oh yeah,
there's a 2 in there.
And I mean, if you want to, there are pictures of like clumps of DNA. Like you can do, you can extract DNA from cells, and it's big enough where you can visually see it.
Yeah, totally.
And then let's see. And then too young to feel this old. Can GE do a Brocephus rant for us? I don't know if Jerry's ever seen my Brocephus before. Hold on.
I don't know if I have.
You'll love it, Jerry. I promise. Okay. What else am I gonna do? I don't know. Okay, listen, I got to agree with Matt, the flat earth bug guy, because listen, it doesn't make sense, okay, that germs exist. All right. I know you've got your little microscopes, but the microscopes, they're really just video cameras that are playing a CGI generated microorganism video. And, it's really not bugs that are infecting your liver and giving you liver damage and also causing you to eat some Viagra so you can get a boner sometimes. It's actually just terrain shit. That's when you go outside and you just eat a whole bunch of dirt. That's what causes your liver damage and limp dick. That's what also causes limp dick syndrome. That's why you got to eat that Viagra. Anyways, did you also know that the pharmaceutical companies are really just profiting off of you and giving you sugar pills? What else can I say that might get this channel banned?
Cephas, bro. Just go look at porn. It's fine. I'm giving you permission. You can just go look at porn. Jesus.
I don't want to go and look at Jesus porn. Okay, that's blasphemous. I'm just gonna get on my knees and pleasure the Savior like he likes it. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I am not gonna do any of that because I feel like you get bugs up your rectum if you do it like that.
I got the good Lord, he's going down on me. That's an Always Sunny reference.
$4.99. I feel like I'm making Jerry very uncomfortable with this. $4.99. Yeah, $4.99 from Mr. Briefs. This is for lonely people on the toilet. Jimmy finishes with a roast after I feel seen.
I meant my
there,
personal
Jimmy.
content, but this works too. This is a good channel. It's a good channel.
$10 from Yay Dan, who says, okay, support the channel to make John struggle with my name one more time because I love the show. Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Guzzle some cheese.
It's vegan cheese sauce. Go guzzle some vegan cheese sauce. Some of the worst food that exists. Smells like feet.
So what's his name again, John?
Josephus?
No.
Yay, yeah. Oh, the super chat. Yay, Dane. Yay, Dane.
You're welcome. It's hurting me.
$10 from James Call, who says, Jimmy, collaborate with Mark Rober to get a heat rise indicator on the coffee table, then it deploys a halon before the catapult.
I would love to do that after Mark Rober confirms that he has left the church and no portion of his the money he makes off of his channel and sponsorships is going to the Mormon church. As soon as he confirms that, because at last check he was still at least signaling that he is he doesn't say it directly, but if you were a Mormon, you know the signals, like the lines of the magic underwear. He was still signaling that he was a Mormon in good standing, and I cannot abide supporting a person whose 10% of their income goes to an organization which is hostile to my queer ass. But
I respect
like Mark
that
Rober.
Queer ass.
I really hope that I hope that he eventually. He doesn't seem like he personally is a bigot. Just maybe gives his money to bigots. So I hope he eventually clears that up.
So next up, $4.99 from the Raven 200, who either just came from the newest shooting of the Raven movie series or a nightclub based around metal music, who says, here's $4.99 as a thanks for that, Bro Cephas. I'm not sure what I did, but you are welcome.
I feel like I finally thought, if I had been trying to roast, I don't know Raven at all, but I probably would have included something like, quoth the Raven, I have no friends. Something like that would have probably been, but you maybe do. I don't know you at all. I'm just trying to come up with something for your money for before the Raven. I also don't want to like say something that then actually hurts. Like if someone had said that to me, it would have been true and I would have felt horrible.
Wait, how about this? Quoth the Raven, sex nevermore.
Nevermore. Quote the Raven. They said this eye makeup would get me laid. I don't know. Anyway, that's the best I got. I tried for you, buddy.
Yeah. Thank you so much, the Raven 200. Here's to 201.
E.
And that's it. That's it for tonight. Thanks. I hope more crazy people call in next week because, I'm sure GE loves talking to just, normal people, but the crazies are where it gets interesting. But we do appreciate everybody that called in tonight. Thank you so much there, Jerry, for coming in to host and helping me answer some of these questions. And also, I do want to give a special thanks to Dragon, who was doing our screening. They did a really great job tonight. So thank you, Dragon. Also, you got a cool ass name. I'm just saying.
Yeah. And if we can see John before the end of this thing.
Oh, okay. Hold on 1 second. Like, I'm really tired of looking at that, John. Could you please just stop? It's not funny anymore.
There he is. There's the man.
Yeah.
Oh, no, this is awesome. Thank you very much. This was fun. Yeah, maybe if we do this again in the future, maybe we can get some more, get some of these kind of cowardly flat earthers and science deniers to show up, not just pose.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd really appreciate that too. But also very much appreciate all of the other callers that called in. Always love talking to rational people about important
definitely.
topics.
Yeah, and asking questions at angles that I wasn't necessarily hadn't really thought about, and that's always good to come at a topic in a way that I don't think about on a regular basis.
Definitely. All right. Well, y'all have a nice night. Be sure to tune in the rest of the week. We've got HOSTility tomorrow with Jimmy and David Fitzgerald talking about the Mormons. And then on Wednesday, we've got the Hang Up with Matt and Vice Rhino. And then on the Transatlantic Call-In show, we've got Katy Montgomerie and student Dr. Ben. So definitely tune in the rest of the week for all the great stuff. And I guess we will see you heathens later.
Peace.
What if I just never ran the intro? We all just sit here and it's like, Jimmy, everybody, am I being summoned again? Like an earlier call? What did the earlier call want, by the way? Never mind. Fuck it. All right. Bye, everyone.